All right, hey, what's up? Good morning, everyone. You totally snuck up on me. Oh man, that's crazy. Sorry about that. All right, let me get what I'm got going on here. Sitting here deleting videos from YouTube, and I'm like, oh crap, I hit go live. So let me get rid of some of this stuff. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome. I need this over here. I forgot. There we go. A little bit better lighting. Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome. My name is Darkpool Algo, and thanks for joining me on this Tuesday, July 27th, 2021. We are going to be building a earnings season watch list, and I'm going to go through how I trade earnings. We're going to specifically look at what's called the Iron Fly. It's a trade that you put on for a credit and you buy it back for a debit, and the goal is to allow theta decay and volatility to decrease off of the credit that you've received. We'll get into that a little bit more in a minute. Secondly, we're going to be looking at stocks and options that have a greater than expected chance of making a move in the stock market, and we're going to use the Smart Money Dark Pool and Block Trade algorithm software. It's provided by the pro traders over at FlowTrade. I use this system every day, and it allows you to see what's going on with large institutional smart money before the market reacts to it. It's a predictive indicator in that it tracks the flow index, and therefore we can see if the large institutions are buying, while the stock price is selling off, which is typically what they do. That gives us an opportunity to know that the bullish divergence has got to play out, and that the stock price and the algo must eventually come back and meet, very similar to filling a gap. If you're not familiar with my chart setup in front of you, what you've got is the 2x2 layout. If you see me draw these red horizontal lines, those are regular block trades. If I draw a blue horizontal line, it's a dark pool block trade. And if it's a white line, that means that there is a cluster of dark pool and regular block trades so close to each other that I couldn't separate them out. And that's what you're going to get. White squigglies, that's price action. Purple line is the regular algorithm, and I try to use yellow for directional or important areas to pay attention to on the chart. So with that being said, before we hop into it, I need you guys to go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so that you get notified anytime I start putting out new videos, which I'm going to start doing when I get back from San Francisco this week. So with that being said, if you have ticker requests for the algo, make sure you hit me up in the chat. Let's see what else. I want to go through some news real quick. And sorry, I got the standing desk, and I'm just still trying to get used to it. I want to go through some news real quick, and I want to do a screenshot of how futures are doing this morning. And it appears that we've just got a little mixture across the board with the ES running up and hitting a key resistance level and selling back off into support. So we'll keep an eye on 4403.75 for a bounce. YM could not maintain that support at 34920. NQ, same deal, up, redirected off resistance, came back down. It looks like it's trying to maintain some support for the next move higher. The Russell, poor guy, or RTY, just poor little guy, just can't hang out with the big boys. It's like he's trying to go to the party and keeps getting carted at the door. Bang, I'm still here if you want to sponsor me. If not, I'm going to keep buying your product. All right, looks like gold is ripping a little bit, up about 10 points. Crude, choppy, right? Bonds, looks like they're making a move, which would be an indication that if ES sells off, I'm going to be looking at TLT for longs. And then, I can't remember what 6JY is, but it looks like it's taking the same path as bonds, so maybe another bond type play. All right, that's our futures review. I want to look at some news real quick, and then we're going to get into looking at some stocks, options, and how to trade earnings. So with that being said, I'm going to look at the all morning updates. I know there's a crap ton of earnings today. First of all, Tesla had earnings they beat. Look for Tesla to either make a rip or dip. Okay. The other earnings play I'm interested in, well, first of all, Amazon has denied that there was a report saying that they're going to look into accepting Bitcoin as payments. That was a rumor. Buy the rumor, sell the news. Perfect example. All right, moving through this, there is a ton of earnings coming up today. The ones that I'm interested in is going to be Apple, AMD, and Google, Google, and Microsoft, maybe Nlock, Teladoc, TDoc is one. So TDoc, Google, Microsoft, AMD, Apple. Those are all earnings after the close today. So I'd be looking to play an overnight play with that. A bunch of earnings beats, financials. I did read something about how China. All right, here it is. So Chinese internet complexes extend losses in free market as there's a tech crackdown going on. So Baba, Baidu, JD, Pinduoduo, PDD, NetEase, NTES, and are all failing because of basically what Diddy came out and did, right? So I'm gonna look at maybe being a little early on those, and that would be okay. There was something that, again, related to the Chinese news. Let's see if I can find it. Where was it? Essentially, NIO and LI, which is the other Chinese EV manufacturer, they came out and said that they were going to... Where is it? So they were going to look at I'll have to, oh, there we go. There it is. So EV makers LI and NIO vowed to strengthen the oversight of its big tech firms. So LI and NIO may be a good dip buy. So NIO, I believe in NIO long term. I've done some looking into it. If they were in America, I think they would be a competitor for like Kia, right? Not necessarily Tesla status because of the American ego. Just that Tesla's got such brand recognition here, and it's a status symbol. NIO is obviously a strong competitor, a very strong competitor, and I like their battery swapping technology. So with that being said, so I'm going to look at LI and NIO for potential longer term plays. I'm going to be looking at Apple, Tesla, AMD for some volatility plays. However, keep in mind, you don't want to buy long calls and puts on these because there's a lot of volatility built into it, and you'll get what's called vol crush, meaning that as soon as earnings are over, all the volatility is gone and the options premiums are just garbage. Okay. The other one stock that I wanted to look at that it's been kind of floating around on me for the last couple days is Billy, BILI, and that's this upper left-hand corner one here. As you can see, there's some block trade resistance on its way up, but the algo has pretty much been net buying since the 16th, and it's pretty dang vertical. So if it can get up over and quit tripping over itself at 81 or 88, look for a move to 92, and then a break of that resistance at 100. Probably chop around at 100 for a little while just to get a little bit more momentum behind it. Sorry, I'm really tired this morning. Before it makes that next step up to 110, right? This is what Billy looks like on the chart. It's been stepping down, right? But it's currently at a pretty significant level of support right here at the weekly bottom. So like I said, if it can get up out of its way at 88, which would be yesterday's high, we've got the 127 at 90, and then you got the 1618 coming in at 94. That would be running into the 4-hour bottom, monthly bottom, or monthly bottom and daily bottom. So major resistance in this area here, right? So basically from about here, right? Let's call it So from 95 to 98, well, let's just do this. From about 94 to 98, weird little $4 mix there. All right, so just keep an eye on that. That's Billy. The other ones I wanted to look at was the BA. BA looks poised to make a nice move. So does FedEx and AMD. All right. I'm going to just do BA, FedEx, and I feel like Peloton possibly. Okay. So the earnings iron condor. Let me just throw some things on here real quick. All right. I have a specific study for earnings, and what it does is it tracks earnings for the last 8 periods. I've got it set to 8 periods, right? So it's tracking earnings for those last 8 periods. It also tracks volatility and whether or not there's a squeeze ready to happen, because there's only a couple things that can really screw up the market makers, and one is the squeeze. If you're not familiar with what the squeeze is, it's when the Kelvin channels enter into the Bollinger Bands and there's an explosive move. Now, market makers cannot track that move. That's why it's one of the more profitable plays, simply because if stock's at a good support zone and the squeeze fires off, there's no way for the market makers to be like, oh, it's got an $8 expected range, because that squeeze, when it fires, is going to last like 6 to 8 periods, and that $8 expected range can just be blown out of the water with like a $20 move. So let me just get rid of some of this stuff here. It's going to be one of those days with TOS and the lag. I can see it happening already. So I'm looking at MMM, right? And so for the run up into earnings, it's usually got about a $5 move, 21 days out. Within 8 days, it's got about a $3.50 move. Now, for the 8 days following earnings, it usually drops about 1% or about $1.50, right? And then as far as earnings beats, it looks pretty consistent, where it's about 50-50. It's beat estimates the last 6 times, right? It missed once, right? And that would be this one here, where it gapped down 2%, right? But it looks pretty consistent in that it's about a 2 to 4% mover, even when it does miss, right? So 4% is a pretty standardized move for MMM. I've also got, as well as part of this, very colorful chart here, right? I've got these market maker expected moves. It's the study, MMM study is available through TOS for free. Okay. Now, what it's showing me is that market makers are factoring in about a $6.15 move, and with IV and a single standard deviation puts about a $2.75 move, right? With that being said, it currently, it closed at 201 yesterday. So I'm looking to add $6 to the wings of this iron fly. Now, what an iron fly is when you buy and sell a strike at the same price. So I would sell, or excuse me, where you would sell a call and a put at the same price. So what I did was I sold the 200 call, I sold the 200 put. Now I have to have protection on that, or else, my potential loss is, unlimited. So what I did was I bought the 190, I think the 192.50 put, so a $7.50 wide put fly, right? A $7.50 wide wing on the put side, and then I bought the 207.50 put on, or call on the call side. What that did is it gave me a credit for the two that I sold, and I protected myself, right? I purchased protection on either side. Now, what we want the stock to do is just maintain itself between that 207.50 which is the upper end of the range, and that 192.50, which is the lower end of the range. This is what that trade looks like if you're ever interested in trying to do something like this. Sorry, that's not Snap. This is MMM. Okay, so typically when I take these trades, I only like to risk about $500 total on the trade. So what I did was I bought, or excuse me, what you do is you sell an iron condor, and you adjust your strikes to make sure that your call on your put that you're selling are the same price, and then you add your protection wings based on the expected move. So what you're betting is the stock is going to stay in between what you sold it for and what you've protected yourself with. Now, theta decay and volatility decay are going to take that credit that you earn and make it less valuable. Okay? And you want it to be less valuable because you're interested in keeping the credit. So I did the 207.50s and the 192.50s. So that's a $7.50 wide spread, right? And for that I'm taking in a $250 credit, or excuse me, I'm taking in a $500 credit, right? My max loss is $250. So I'm trying to get about 50% of that. So I'll put in a buy order to buy this contract back at $250, which gets me $250 credit, right? So they initially give me 500, right? I'll put in an order to buy it back at 250, so I get to keep the extra 250, right? So this is a good overnight trade. I like to risk about $500 per trade, and so what I would do is I would just simply go in and buy an additional iron fly, right? That puts me at a $900 credit, right? It gives me about a $1,000 credit for a $500 loss, right? So if it just blows up, it goes to zero or it goes to 1,000, the most I would lose would be $500, right? So I do this in my small account. It's a good way to just kind of learn and show you guys what's going on with it. I'm in that trade currently, so I'm going to be looking to get out of it at the open. Okay, and so what that did was, let me just draw my let me mark some stuff up here. So I bought the 207.50, which is approximately there, right? And I also bought the 192.50, which is about here. And so what I'm looking for is by Friday, this stock to close somewhere between this high and this low, and then I will receive the credit for the decayed contracts that I sold. Okay, so that is the iron condor into earnings. All right, I know Apple has earnings today. Clear drawing set. All right, so looking at Apple for the last 7 quarters, right? They've always beat on their estimate, right? Looks like they're usually about a 2 to 4% gap, which means 2 to 4% move, right? 4%, right? They move about 2 to 4% on the move. They had an exceptional earnings last August where they gapped up 7%, right? So 3719. Let's see. The market makers are expecting about a $5.50 move, and the IV on one standard deviation is $2.37. So looking at Apple, right? Market makers are factoring about $6, right? Volatility included would be about $7. Oh, let's try this again. Apple about a $5.50 move expected with volatility included, about $6.30. We know from the chart that Apple likes to move anywhere from 2 to 4% on average, right? usually they'll increase. So they, after earnings, Apple usually continues to buy, right? They continue to run 8 days after with big moves, greater than 5% moves 8 days after earnings 3 times. So they're above 50%. So what will happen is Apple will usually do a small gap and go, right? Gap and go, gap and go, gap and go. So with Apple, I'm going to look at see how it's closing at the bell to make my final determination. But they're factoring in about $6.30 if Apple closes at 149, which I anticipate it doing. We have to kind of factor in, there's a 155, there's 71,000 contracts at 155, and there's another 74,000 contracts at 160. All right, 145, there's 14,000, 140, there's 39,000. So, to do a $10 widespread would probably be the safest with Apple. Let me just go ahead and price this out. So if I went ahead and sold Iron Condor $5 wide, it gives me a $2.50 credit, right? But if it blows through that one way or the other, then I'm in trouble. So, well, hold on, I always forget to do this part. There we go. So it's giving me about a $4, it's giving me almost a $5 credit on $5 risk. So if I took this trade now, that's a, I was going to say that sounded a little too much. All right, so I'm selling the 150s. I'm buying $5 protection on either side. So 145, 155. They're giving me about a $4 credit, which means the max I could lose would be $1 or $100 from my account, right? I like that trade a lot. I'm willing to risk up to 500, so I would probably look at getting maybe 4 of these. Right, so my max loss would be $424. My max profit would be, and if Apple closed at 150 on the dot by Friday, my max profit would be about $1,500, right? So I feel like that's pretty good risk reward, right? So I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on Apple, depending on where it lands at the close today. I may adjust if it breaks 150. It's going to just launch, so we'll just keep an eye on it. The other thing I wanted to talk about is I typically like doing these trades on a Thursday going into a Friday earnings, right? The reason that is because the volatility in the IV is so it's so high at that point that the amount of theta decay just drops off of a cliff on Fridays. So let me just last thing with this, and then I'll jump into some algo and some other basic technical analysis. I'm going to sell the 150. Right, I don't want to do it $5 wide. I'd rather go out 750. So the actual trade I want to do on this would be probably this one. I can't do 7. Dang it. I can do 143. Yeah, so with Apple, you're kind of stuck in that they don't have a $2.50 put side option. So you could go $10 wide, right? So that'd be the 160, except for that just increases your risk to about $1,000, depending on the credit received. Yeah, that credit's not good enough. It gives me $5 credit on $10 worth of risk. I don't like that. I'd much rather play this 145, 155. All right, so I'm selling the 150s. I'm buying $5 protection. I'm getting a $4 credit. Let me show you how this looks. All right, so I get the $4 credit, and I want to do right? This is if I held it through all the way and to break even on. Okay, so this gives me standard deviations, right? If Apple were to close at 150 on the dot on Friday, I would receive the full $391 credit, right? So as long as Apple doesn't close below 146.06, right, I would keep $3.50. And if it doesn't close up and above, 153.90, I would keep, $3.57. So I'm trying to keep it in this little range here. And obviously, the wider the range, the more likely it is that it's going to fall within it. But it also puts more risk on the table and allows for puts more risk on the table and less credit. So this is a pretty good 1-to-1. Again, depending on where it closes, it's been trying to get through 150 for a while. I feel like when it gets through 150, it's just going to explode. So we'll keep an eye on it. But yeah, we want Apple to land somewhere in between here and here for us to get max credit, right? At the close. If I were to, extend that out $10 wide, right? It gives me a bigger equity, it gives me a bigger opportunity to land within profit, but it also increases my risk by 2. Okay. All right. So I think I've done a pretty good job of going over how to deal with the iron fly and looking at stocks going to earnings. It's always a decision towards the end of the day based on, if it gaps down or anything, just the market's going to do what the market wants to do, and all we can do is play the chart in front of us, and it's best for us to look at the stock at the end of the day or seeing what it's doing throughout the day. Okay? All right, so I'm going through the chat. Good morning, Covis, Travis, Lazaro, Terry, Desiree. Good morning. Travis, what's up? All right. Hey, Chevy Drop Top. I like that name. All right, so all right. Apple, LVS. Yes, I'll look at LVS. So LVS came up on my scanner a couple times. I've been burned by LVS more than once. First of all, Billy, B-I-L-I, is going to be my favorite play on the break of 88. I played LVS quite a bit. It's got extreme bullish divergence. I just don't know when it's going to crack, right? And by that I mean there's something that's causing this divergence to just be stifled. All right, let me just throw the block trade levels on, and so it looks like 46 is pretty significant. It's got a gap to fill to 46. Above that, we hit this cluster that ranges from, it's about a 50-cent range, from 47.46 to 47.96. I like whole round numbers. We're going to call it 47.50 to 48. Okay, we've got a $45 support regular block trade, and then they threw in a dark pool trade yesterday at 44.81. That's a pretty good baseline for support. As far as the algorithm's concerned, what I see is we're making a pretty decent technical support. We've got overhead resistance of previous high. Above that, we've got that gap to fill up here into 46. What happens there? We may reject or break through and launch to 47.50, right? However, a lot of it's going to depend on what's going on with the overall market when LVS gets to 46. I haven't checked it this morning. I don't know where it's trading at, but this is a super strong bullish divergence that occurred back on the 22nd. It is not completely played out. This little micro divergence has played out, as you can see, right? This divergence, that would be this one here, right? That divergence has played out. The algo has continued to make, it continues to just grow. All right. So LVS, from a chart perspective, I mean, it's given all the right signals off. I just don't know what its issue is. Looking at it now, it looks like it ran in. One second. Yeah, it looks like yesterday this level that it's at, this 45 that it's getting stuck at, here is the bottom of the 4-hour Keltner channel, and it couldn't break through that, so it rejected off of it. I would look for a continued move down to, I don't even know where the next leg of support is. It looks like it's trying to base here at 44.50. So if it can maintain 44.50-ish, right, which is, got this demand zone that it's just hanging out with. Hanging out at the bus stop. That's all it's doing. Right. Hanging out at the bus stop, picking up new shares. So my demand zones are green. My supply zones are red because that's when I sell. If it can get up and above the 45.50 area, then like I said, we can move to 46.90. Yeah, 46.96 is the block trade level, but it's also the 4-hour mid and daily bottom. It may reject off of here, come back down and test the 4-hour before it moves back up to the 4-hour top. Okay, it's ping pong. So keep that in mind. LVS. Looks like Boeing's trying to make a move. Oh my god, I'm still trying to figure out how to work TrendSpider. I know it's got some super powerful tools in it that I'm not really using at this time, but I would like to. So we're currently trading at 2 standard deviations from the mean. Good opportunity for reversal here. We formed this nice little doji on the daily. You can see that right there. It's that sword, that that trend killer, Kingslayer. I watch a lot of Game of Thrones. Basically that doji pattern that looks like a sword, right? Just imagine the trend is coming and the sword comes up, kills it, and reverses the trend. We had one of those at -2 ATR on the daily, right? That's this little base of support that it's forming here. We've got VWAP at 45.25. Like I said, 45.50 is pretty significant. Above that, we've got a 200 at 46.68, which, looking at our block trades, 46.68, right? There's none there, so it may get through that a little easier. Reversion to the mean would be $50, which is the highest volume for VWAP, which is also the 21 EMA on the daily. So yeah, I mean, it's got opportunity to move to 50 and then make a decision there. So LVS, I like it. I don't have the patience for it to play it. So yeah, I mean, I want to put it on my list. Keep an eye on it. It looks like it's at a good level. Good level. All right. So we have some other requests for Apple, Baba, and Mara. Okay. FedEx is going to chop. Peloton looks like it's going to chop around for a little bit. The request was for Baba and Mara. I looked at Baba. I mean, I looked at Mara yesterday. SPY and TLT. I'll check that out. And then Apple. All right. So Baba, don't step out in front of a moving truck. Wait till it's got a clear reversal sign. It's currently at dark pool support, right? Double dark pool support. However, the algo is continuing to sell off. I mean, wait for a clear trend. The algo is selling off. The stock price is falling. It's resting at 191.65, which is a dark pool level. Any stock that can drop $5 overnight for the last 3 days scares me. I don't want to be part of it. I'm horrible with bearish positions, but it's primed for a reversal. I just can't call it. You know what I mean? I don't try to call tops and bottoms. But this is just nasty. I don't see, like, the next level of support for it is 184.50. There's a longer term demand zone that it may have to, you know, if it comes down to this 170 to 175 long-term demand zone, just, I mean, it's not going to be something. This will definitely affect the overall market if it comes down and hits that long-term demand zone. That's a $10 drop. I mean, it'll drop $10 in a day with the blink of a hat. So I would wait for a trend reversal. I don't want to, I mean, it's just, yeah, I've got other things to do with my time and money. So that was BABA. You also wanted to look at Mara. All right, so while Mara ripped yesterday, it's very influenced by what happens with Bitcoin. This is just a rising wedge, which is a bearish pattern. We have a regular block trade level coming in at $28. That's this level here. Below that, we've got a dark pool down here at 22.85. Right. With that nice run yesterday, it created a gap that's going to need to be filled at some point. Right. This gap is going to need to be filled. The algo is currently curled downwards, right? I don't know if the algo is trying to stay within its own little, oh, come on. Don't know if the algo is trying to stay within its own little, right, own little channel there. But this chart pattern, from what I understand, this rising wedge, from what I understand, that's a very bearish position, because as soon as somebody yanks a rug out from underneath it, it's going to come back down. Look for 28 as support. Below that, it's got to fill that gap back down to whatever level it gapped up from. Okay. BA, I want to go over BA because this is a strong move for BA. It has broken above this cluster of block trades that it was stuck within. That ran from 221 to 222-ish, 222.50-ish. That's a major level of support, right? This is bearish, or excuse me, bullish divergence. I forgot to change colors. Right, this is a nice strong move for BA. It's got, you know, a previous high it's got to take out. You know, it's got some. Wow, I think I moved too fast. All right, there it is. All right, it's got these levels that it's got to get through. So that's BA. I'm going to keep an eye on BA because when it moves, it can move, right? So if it moves, then IWM is going to move. Yeah. All right. So. Oh, yes. Apple, like I said, it's going to be volatile today because it has earnings. All right. It's got a ton of different block trades. It's making a rising wedge pattern. The algo is stair-stepping with it. It's just trading with price action, right? So the algo is not giving me any clear direction of what it wants to do. I'm going to wait till after earnings and maybe catch a after earnings run. Give some of that volatility time to die down. Intel. Yeah, this is another tough one where the algo is trading with price action and consolidating at the same time, if that makes sense. Right, so this 54.50 level, resistance above that, we've got, you know, basically every 75 cents, we've got another block trade that's came in. And then right? Don't know if we want to try to make sure we have to fill that gap, right? We've got a dark pool level that we're just being squeezed in between. So we're squeezing it. Right, so we're being squeezed in between 54 and 54.50. The algo, like I said, is consolidating. It's slightly curled up, so where are we at? Right, it's just consolidating. Looks like price is starting to make its own little, right, its own little uptrending support, making higher lows and higher highs. I don't know if it's a flag breakout up to 54.25. A break above that, 56 is pretty much the next level. That's Intel. So Apple, like I said, 150 is resistance for Apple. It can't. It's tried 4 times to get through it. It will eventually get through it, and when it does, it may release $2 or $3 run. Okay. All right, I think that's it for me. Thanks for joining me once again. My name is Darkpool Algo, and I am happy to be here. I'm glad everybody learned a little something about the Iron Condor earnings strategy. I'm glad I was able to share that with you. TLT, it's resting at regular block trade support from 148.02. Looks like it barely closed above that, so 148 looks to be a base. It's got a cluster up to, basically 149. However, the algo is currently curled down. This is indicative, this reacts with SPY, right? So the algo's selling off, right? We're currently at this weird long-term support. That's pretty significant, that trend line right there, or that, that support line. Right, we've got overhead resistance. So, yeah, as long as SPY continues to melt upwards, TLT is probably going to continue to sell off. I'm going to keep an eye on it. I'm going to go draw this trend line on a chart. If it breaks below that, then I'll probably try to bring it back down. Right. However, if I can get it to break above overhead resistance, it may move a little bit, but that would mean that SPY is going down. So they're kind of inverse, right? Ish. SPY is, just massive block trades. So SPY still in a nice strong uptrend, probably going to melt up to make a little higher highs today. We're just waiting on an event of a major tech company missing earnings, and I feel like we're going to tumble a little bit. So I'm pretty cash heavy right now. I'm waiting for that clear pullback, but I'm going to play the charts in front of me. Y'all have given me some good things to look at today. I'm particularly interested in, like I said, Peloton, Billy. I'm going to look at LVS a little bit more, and just keep away from earnings plays until the end of the day. Thanks for joining me. I am out of here for real this time. You guys rock. Make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, share it with your friends. I'm here every morning, Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is 5:30 for me in Arizona. So hit me up on Twitter.